your hands in the air. It's
Dr. Do, Dr. Do.
Mixing sodas with the beer. It's
Dr. Do, Dr. Do.
So why don't everybody cheer it?
Dr. Do, Dr. Do.
This is the one right here.
Throw your hands in the air. It's
Dr. Do, Dr. Do.
Mixing sodas with the beer. It's
Dr. Do, Dr. Do.
So why don't everybody cheer it?
Dr. Do, Dr. Do.
This is the one right here.
You got
What is y'all, your social media platform artist and your host of the YouTube channel and your favorite character right here. I'm your host, your one and only Houston Dude here, y'all. How are we on this wonderful morning on Thursday right here, y'all? Today, I will be doing you guys a history right here. A World War II history we're going to be talking about. I want to talk about Japan. You know, Japan at that time, back in 1937, they are basically one of the reasons why World War II started when they invaded Manchuria and also they invaded China. Alright? It also take us to the day that when Japan had made America go war with them in December 7th, 1941 in Pearl Harbor, which took the life of 3,000 people. I want to talk to you all about the reason why Japan lost the war when U.S. started joining the war in 1941. I want to talk about the reason for this and my thoughts about why I think that it could hold on. The reason why Japan faced major defeats and major catastrophes, and also what make them a lot more weaker as well. Before we get started, you guys new to the YouTube channel, please subscribe to the channel, hit notification down below, comment down below what you guys thought about my opinion about Japan losing the war in World War II, and what you guys think I had some stuff that was not true and stuff. Well, my opinion is my opinion as well. So, you guys want Dr. Doomer, go to Beach Chart to get you guys Dr. Doom shirts, drinkware, hats. Prepare yourself for summertime, y'all. Next week is summer, y'all. Y'all get ready, alright? Also, you guys want something to give you enough hydration and energy? Well, go to Beach Chart to get you guys Dr. Doom's energy and hydration powder right here, y'all. Energy and hydration. It will give you enough energy and hydration to give you guys enough energy and hydration to get your day a lot better, and also give you guys enough time to enjoy the summer breeze and summer ocean, all that stuff right here, y'all. So without further ado, let's get the party started. Ever since Japan had made America with war with them, they were not as good as Japan thought. Japan thought that if they knock out the U.S. fleet, which they thought that aircraft carrier was supposed to be there and knock out the oil system, they would make us Americans surrender immediately and talk with the negotiated. But they failed to destroy the oil area and also failed to destroy aircraft carriers, which play a bigger role in the U.S. Navy in World War II. Due to the Battle of Midway that happened in 1942, which was a turning point for the United States and its allies in the Pacific. I will tell you guys my reason for Japan's struggle and defeat in this one. Reason, resources. You see, Japan had the issue of trying to get resources from other nations such as oil, coal, silk, cotton, the stuff that they don't have in their nation or resources they cannot produce. So they had islands and also colonized islands that has resources, which eventually led to Japan trying to take on land that were owned by the other nations, such as the British, the French, the Dutch, and the Americans, where they launched their invasion on the Philippines, Singapore, Hong Kong, and so on. Alright, and also Vietnam at that time. But however, when America joined the war and used their jumping island tactics, where they take each island with weakest defenses and get to the hardest part, it also including bombing on Japanese supply ships as well, it became difficult for Japan to get those sources. All of the stuff like grain and food that with the other islands produced for Japan and the military. So without those islands, without those resources, Japan had struggled constantly for some equipment, some Navy stuff, and all the airplanes as well became more difficult for many Japanese forces in the island, which became difficult for them. They faced starvation and illness and diseases while fighting the U.S. Army and the Allied forces. And then next we got the army itself, because when you think about Japanese army, you think like they're strong enough and also willingness to fight against the army of the U.S. Marines and counterparts as well. But there are problem with the Japanese forces, because when it comes to equipment and weaponry, they don't have the kind of weaponry that U.S. has. Like U.S. had the Thompson, the M1 Garand, and machine guns, which they could carry around them. Even though Japan does have some machine guns, all right. So that's like the Type 96 light machine guns, which is a variant of the Beretta, the Brent gun, which Britain used in World War II. But however, they had difficulties of weapons. They lack all the lacking of equipment that with the American forces has. When you think about that, all the ammunition and guns became more difficult for Japan facing the United States Marines. All right, even with their bolt-action rifle, it's not good enough to take on the U.S. forces. With their M1 Garand they have more accuracy and more ammunition than what Japan has with their Type 95 bolt-action rifles. All right, and their equipment, Japan also had issue with equipment as well. They have difficulty of trying to find any clothing and also any ammunition to keep themselves continuing to fight against America. And also they started to use other tactics such as guerrilla warfare and also banzai attacks. You guys don't know what banzai attack is? They're suicidal attacks, which Japan had always consciously sent all their forces to defend or stop the U.S. advancement on their territorial island, which they had conquered throughout the whole entire war, which they always end with a failure of stopping the American forces in those areas. And then we get to the other part, Navy. We remember Japan had always had this Navy superiority in the Pacific, which Japan always showed off to many colonial powers and also their other rival nation as well. When you look at how Japan managed to take on the might of the British Navy, like taking out their major battleships in those conflicts with Britain, and also destroying one of their main battleships, like the HMS Hood, for example, or Queen Elizabeth, right there. Hold on. But however, as time goes on, and with the U.S. Navy in the war, it became more difficult for Japan to defend their Navy ships. Actually, when you think about how U.S. can intercept the Navy coast or the location where the enemies are, Japan will always be under a surprise attack by the U.S. Navy, or including the fact that Japan had the problem of producing more Navy ships. For example, Japan can manage to make one Navy aircraft carrier a year, while America can produce 3 aircraft carriers in 1 year. Yeah, because U.S. had a bigger landscape, bigger land, and bigger population than Japan has in World War II. And also, Japan had been constantly lose more of their their Navy ships, including most of their characters. Remember, they managed to lose 4 aircraft carriers in the Battle of Midway, which is a devastating disaster for Japan. Also, due to the fact that U.S. had managed to intercept many of their Navy ships, including the Japanese biggest ship, the Yamato class battleship, which U.S. Air Force had managed to destroy and sink the Yamato big ship, including also taking out their leader, like their admirals in the Navy, which it became difficult for Japan leaders to know what the enemy going to do. But however, most of their officers, like for example, the Fleet Admiral Yamamoto. Remember Yamamoto? Yamamoto was supposed to be the greatest Navy strategist against the U.S. in World War II, but however, he and his plane, which he was in, was shot down and taken out by the U.S. Air Force, which is devastated for Japan. Alright? While Yamamoto, Japan Navy had became crippled and also gotten more worsened with Yamamoto death. It sucks to be a Japanese Navy officer when you lose your greatest admiral in the fleet. And since then, the Japanese forces Navy had always became deteriorated and sunk in many numbers in this war. And then we got to another part right here. It also played a major role of U.S. winning the war. The bomb, like the big boy and the fat. The two atomic bombs we dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Alright, the fat boy and the I forgot the other name for it. Alright, the other nukes. Those were the two atomic bombs that forever changed the history of the United States, which is crazy because if it weren't for the atomic bombs, alright, let's look at that. If it weren't for the atomic bomb, we would have seen America, Russia, and the Allies invade Japan, but there would be a lot of deaths that would have been skyrocketing. Like you would see millions of Japanese men, women, and children die in the hands of the invasion forces of the Allies, and you would see a lot of death toll on the Allied forces. So U.S. decided to instead drop two atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, ending the war with Japan. It also, its leadership also played a big role, like Hideki Tojo and his Japanese officers. You see, Japan had the issue with their officers throughout the war, such as how they made a lot of crimes they had committed, like war crimes, such as the deaths of millions of Chinese, Americans, Filipino, British, Singapore people, Indians, alright, and so on. And the Japanese officers know that they had what they done, and they know they're losing the war. They know for the fact they do not want to come out alive. And then you see there were also corruption throughout the Japanese officials, like Hideki Tojo always had the issue of trying to make himself look big and strong, and also wanting to show the world that he is the guy who shouldn't be messed with. But however, look what happened. See what happened, so many forces that he lost in the war against the United States. He thinks that kamikaze or banzai attack will break the American morale, but it didn't. He should have seen this coming, including the fact that about Okinawa, it showed that how strong and powerful the United States are when they can take one of the main islands that Japan always see as a tactical island, which been taken by the United States. You can see how Hideki Tojo see how strong the Allies are, and he knows that he would have not wanting to face charge in which his his first attempt of taking his own life, but fails and he faced war crimes again by the Allied powers. And also, you see, most of their leaders, most of their officials took their own lives before the United States take the island, where we see in multiple accounts of Japanese officers take their own lives in front of their own men, showing signs that they refuse to give up to the United States, and also they rather die than surrender. You mean, look at it this way: Japan had this code of honor. You see, they rather fight to the end, to the last man standing, than surrender to the enemy. Because if they did surrender to the enemy, they would be dishonor. They would be dishonor to their family, their culture, their history. They remember as people who betray and disloyal to their emperor of Japan. Alright? And there you have it. These are the reasons to me why Japan lost the war right here, y'all. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Please subscribe to the channel, hit notification down below. Comment down below what you guys think about my video about Japan losing the war in World War II. And I'll see you guys next time right here, y'all. Peace out, y'all.